Divorce is one of the most challenging transitions in life, and without the right guidance, it can quickly turn into a disaster. Welcome to Dodging Divorce Disasters, the show that helps you navigate the legal, financial, and emotional pitfalls of divorce before they happen. In each episode, I sit down with a top professional in the divorce community to hear real-life war stories, cautionary tales from the trenches of divorce. But I won't leave you with just the horror stories. The experts will break down exactly what went wrong and, more importantly, how you can avoid making the same mistakes. Whether you're in the early stages of separation, deep in the process, or supporting someone through it, we are here to help you move forward with clarity, confidence, and fewer regrets. I'm your host, Lori Hawkins, and I am a local expert in divorce real estate. I am so excited to be sharing these incredible professionals with you. Let's dive in. I am so happy today to have Renee Burris with us. She has some great information to share with us today. I was really excited when I was reading her notes that she had supplied to me. Renee, thank you so much for being here with us today as a guest.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, I was thinking back of when we first met, which has been several years ago that we first met. And I think it was actually through a Second Saturday, because I'm one of the sponsors of Second Saturday up here at the Lake Norman area. And I think you came and you were one of the family law presenters, I believe. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. I'm a big believer in the Second Saturday divorce workshops. But I'm going to kind of just let you tell us what area of the law you do, the name of your company, where you may practice, just anything to do with your practice.
So I have been practicing as a family law attorney for the past several years. Now I have opened my own company, which is called Central Carolina Mediation Services. I am doing mediations, not just in family law, but some other areas as well. But I've practiced for quite a while. I'm barred in both North Carolina and Virginia. And so I decided to go the mediation route.
Nice. Now, for mediation, what else do you mediate besides, like within family law, you can mediate? What kind of mediation can you do within family law?
So for mediation, for court-appointed mediation, the thing that I can mediate is the property distribution. If you file an action in North Carolina to divide your property, you'll probably have some other claims as well, alimony, if you have children, child custody, and all that. You will likely be ordered to mediation for the purpose of dividing your property. Once we're there, we can mediate anything. We can mediate the child custody. We can mediate anything you want to mediate, including alimony. And a lot of times you do mediate all the claims that arise out of the marriage.
Okay, explain to me, and for anybody that might be listening, because I'm not even sure if I understand this. You mentioned court-appointed mediation. So there must be mediation that's not court-appointed. What is the difference, and can you do mediation without being court-appointed? Does that question even make sense?
It does. So you will be ordered to go to mediation if you file an action in North Carolina. If you're trying to file an action to divide your property, the court is going to order you to go to mediation. You can select your own mediator. If you can't select your own mediator, if the parties can't agree, then the court will appoint a mediator who says they will take mediations in that county, court-appointed mediations. You don't have to wait to go to court. In fact, a lot of attorneys, they know you're going to be ordered and forced to go to mediation. They won't even file an action. They'll say, we should be able to resolve this in mediation. Let's go ahead and get mediation started before we even go to court or file an action. So it can be done before you go to court. You never have to go to court. You never have to file an action in North Carolina. You can resolve it outside of court. But a lot of cases go to mediation, whether they are in the court process or not.
Now, is a mediator, is that on top of your family law attorney, or can your family law attorney also be your mediator?
You need a separate mediator. A family law attorney cannot act as the mediator for both parties, because your attorney has a duty to you. The other person's attorney has a duty to them. And the mediator's role is to be a neutral They are not carrying water for either party. Their goal is to be a neutral, to help the parties listen to each other, to explore settlement options, and all of those things. Your attorney, you need both an attorney and a mediator.
Okay.
Your attorney's job is to make sure you get the best deal you can.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So you can have a family law attorney that is also a mediator, but they cannot do, if that's your family law attorney, they also can't be your mediator.
Correct.
So, okay. All right. Perfect. All right. That makes sense then. Okay. Before we jump into the craziest divorce story and how somebody can dodge that, I always like to talk about a fun fact that you have told me about, and yours really kind of made me laugh. And I can't wait to hear the story because I haven't heard this story from you. So you love to hike, right?
I do hike quite a lot.
Okay. And I guess like you go up in the mountains. Are you like an avid hiker? You like to go and do the big hikes, the long hikes?
I will do an overnight hike. I haven't done anything longer than a couple of days. But on one particular overnight hike, it stormed, it rained, it poured. And so I was hiking with my daughter, even though we had tried to protect our things in our backpacks as much as we could. Most of the things in our backpack were still soaked. And so when we were doing a portion of the Appalachian Trail, there was a shelter there. We took everything out of our backpacks, tried to hang it up. I hung up my wet clothes all around the shelter, and we had hammocks, so we slept in the hammocks that night. And of course, you hear scary noises and lots of scurrying around. My hammock was a little damp. I went back to the shelter. I thought I'll just sleep in my sleeping bag in the shelter, and then I heard rats scurrying around. So I was like, I'll be wet in my hammock. And that is what I did. And the next morning when I got up, one of my shirts that I had hung up to dry had holes eaten throughout. It wasn't just a couple of holes. It was a holy shirt.
Oh my gosh.
Holes everywhere. So I was glad that I stayed a little damp in my hammock.
But you never saw them. You don't know how big they were.
Did not see them.
I am so a city girl. I mean, to hear stories like that, I'm like, I do not understand how. Now, I do like to hike, not major hikes, but I mean, I like to go up and, do these few miles. But to think about like spending the night outside camping, that is just not my cup of tea. It just isn't. But anyway, that's all right. Well, that's a crazy story in itself right there. Okay, so let's jump in about the craziest divorce story you have and how perhaps someone listening to this can dodge this divorce disaster, which is primarily why I do these.
So I've got one situation. This has happened a few times. I've had someone come in and bring a separation agreement that they've already signed, and they did not get advice before they signed it. And I've had it in a couple of situations. This has happened either out of guilt because they're blaming themselves. It's my fault. I ruined the marriage. I have to take the only agreement the other person is going to give me, or out of an attempt to, if I be nice, maybe they'll come back type of thing. I've had one parent agree to a very limited child custody parenting arrangement because there was no allegations of abuse or drug abuse or nothing, no reason that they should have agreed to that except out of their own profound need to make up for the downfall of the marriage. And I've had another situation where someone has agreed to essentially pay alimony in a way that's not modifiable for a long period of time. And then a year or two later, as it happens, you're not earning quite as much as you used to, and there's no way really to modify this agreement because it says as a term, this alimony is not modifiable and it's going for a very long time. So I have just seen some very one-sided separation agreements that people really couldn't live with, but very little way to modify them.
So the moral of the story is?
At least go get a consultation. I tell people that before. Go get a consultation with an attorney at least. before you sign an agreement, before you move out of the home. You might need some legal advice before, especially if you're the person who's wanting to keep the home. Go get the consultation before, probably years before you think you should have. So when your marriage, when you start having those inklings that something's not right here, we might be headed toward divorce, that's the time. Go get that consultation. Just because you get the consultation doesn't mean you will get the divorce. It's not going to bring it about. You don't have to tell anyone that you're going for that consultation. You can pay cash, but you need to go ahead and know what your rights are, your responsibilities are. You need to know what's going on just so you can be prepared.
You know, that is some of the best advice I have heard, because I'm bringing up Second Saturday again, but I mention in Second Saturday every month that I am a presenter there. I know it's hard when you are going from one home to having, I know money's tight. I mean, I even know in my divorce real estate, I ask a lot less of renovations or repairs or anything for a home when it's a divorce real estate listing rather than someone that's just putting it on the market, because I know money is tight. It's just a different situation. But the money that you spend for that 1 hour consultation is the best money you'll ever spend, because you just don't know what you don't know. But what you said about doing it early, I mean, that just makes so much sense. And, you don't want to think somebody's stewing on it for years, but, let's be honest, you do. I mean, I know in my own divorce, I knew years before it actually happened that this should be happening. And that would have been the best time for me to go and say, I hope this doesn't happen. But what should I know? How should I start preparing just in case? And it gives you time. You can start getting your affairs in order. That is really, I've never even thought about doing that. And that seems so common sense, but that's really good advice.
I've seen people have come to me for a consultation before, and during the consultation, I can tell that this divorce has been brewing for years and years. But they just made, in the last couple of months, a major financial move, and they're about to get divorced. And the time to have had that consultation would have been before you made that major financial move, because those types of things can have real impacts on your divorce.
Yeah.
And how you can go forward.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. All right, well, let's move more into like your mediation. Tell me again. Now, can you do mediation by Zoom, or is it an in-person kind of thing?
No, we can do mediations by Zoom. Those happen more and more frequently now. Some people prefer them. I prefer in-person mediations, but Zoom is certainly what a lot of people prefer, and it can be done that way, and it's done that way every day in North Carolina.
Okay.
So my company is Central Carolina Mediation Services. I will go anywhere in North Carolina by Zoom, but in person, I'll certainly go all the central North Carolina counties.
So do you go to them, or do they come to you? How does that work?
I'll go to them. Mediations are normally handled in the county where the action is filed. Okay. So if you reside in Mecklenburg County, your mediation is likely going to be in Mecklenburg County. Okay. You can agree otherwise, but it's usually where at least one of the parties lives.
Okay. Now, something that I have learned along the way also is, as the mediator, you are like you said before, you're the neutral. And you go through and you help them to do all the separation of things, or child custody, or whatever it is. But then isn't it true that you then they have to take that back to one of the attorneys, or an attorney, to actually get it drafted? Is that correct?
Normally, this is the way it happens usually. If both parties have attorneys and we're doing a property mediation or any kind of mediation with me, the attorneys are there. What the attorneys will likely do during that mediation is they will type up something that is bare bones, that just recognizes that this is what we agreed to. We agreed she gets the house, she gets 1 year to refinance, they each get their own cars, he gets this retirement, she gets this retirement, and it's just bare bones. It's almost like a bullet point list. Mm-hmm. So often the attorneys will draft up something like that that memorializes exactly who gets what. And then it may or may not be signed. And then the attorneys take it and prepares a fuller agreement, and that then gets signed. That's usually the way it happens, but sometimes you do leave the mediation with a signed agreement, but that has been prepared by one of the attorneys or both of them working together.
Okay. All right. And realistically, can mediation start to finish be one session? I mean, or how does that work? How long do we go and be prepared to stay all day and knock it out? Or how does that work?
There are different types of mediation. In the traditional, usual sense, you come to mediation and it is expected to go all day, one whole day. And you may resolve things entirely that day. You may not resolve everything. We resolve property. We didn't get a chance to resolve custody, so we're going to come back another day. But a lot of times there are one issue is more important than the other. The parties kind of agree on the one issue. They don't agree on this issue. This is harder. This one we can get done. We'll get that done. So a lot of times it does get resolved in one day. It can go a couple of days, or you can break the mediation. Maybe you need more information. We need to know a particular piece of information that we didn't have with us at mediation. And so the mediation breaks. It might resume. Once the attorneys have that information, that might be able to resolve that on their own. So they resolve it without the necessity of going back to another day of mediation. But that's the way,
Okay. Let me ask you this. How should somebody come prepared for mediation? I mean, is there things they should bring, have stuff in order? How does all that work?
So if you have an attorney, your attorney will tell you, your attorney will be the one to prepare, but you will have had to give your attorney the information. So a lot of times your attorney will come with a spreadsheet and it lists all the marital property. They'll have a value on it as of the date of separation and maybe the current date. They'll assign some values maybe. You will have needed to provide your attorney account statements, retirement documents. Sometimes you're the only one that can get your own retirement documents, especially if litigation hasn't been filed yet. So you will be the one to get that information for your attorney, and then your attorney will put that together. And but sometimes you've gotten a particular piece of information for your attorney, but there's still a question somewhere. Well, it says this much, this retirement plan, but there's a question. You weren't able to get the information about how much you had in that retirement plan when you actually got married. That might be a very important piece of information. You might be in the mediation that day calling and trying to get the information, and you might be doing that. It might come later. Something like that. Well, we didn't get an appraisal of the home. We thought we were just going to sell it, but now one party wants to keep it. We may need an appraisal of the home. We may need an appraisal of some other major asset. Those types of things. And the mediation, the way that it may hinge on that particular piece of information. But your attorney needs as much cooperation from you, as much organization from you, and they can best represent you when they've got that.
Okay, let me ask you this. Speaking of money being tight for people that are going through a divorce, can people just hire, if they don't want to do, like if neither of them have an attorney, can you hire a mediator without having attorneys and just have the mediator do it and then them get somebody to write it up? I mean, would that not be a cheaper way to do it?
Yes, they can do that. They can hire a mediator. I do recommend that, but still, they at least each have a consultation to know
With an attorney?
with an attorney. Now you've just got a consultation. You haven't retained an attorney for full-blown litigation. You've just paid one consultation fee. So you can know at least what the range of expected in a case like yours is. Okay. But you don't have to. You can hire a mediator anyway. The mediator can help you guys talk. You guys can write up what you've agreed to, and then you should each take it one should take it to have it drafted. Then at least one should go see an attorney and say, does this look like what we agreed to, and is this reasonable, right? So that's the way that works. If things are really tight, you can do it without attorneys, but still an attorney is going to need to draft that for you. I don't like to leave that to the parties to draft themselves and sign themselves. They want a valid binding agreement, so they're going to need an attorney to make sure that it is a valid binding agreement and it meets the requirements for a marital agreement in North Carolina.
Okay, that makes sense because I think, I feel like there's mediation, the court appointed mediation, there's arbitration, there's collaborative, there's litigation. There's so many terms out there. When you're going through a divorce and you have so many decisions to make, money's tight, you're worried about the children. Should I keep the home? Should I sell the home? There are just so many things. So that's why I'm trying to dig in so that people can kind of understand the best way for them, money-wise and stuff, for mediation and things like that. So yeah. Okay, so what did we not cover in mediation that you would want somebody to know? Or let me ask you this. What if somebody is hunting for a mediator, to hire one? What should they look for? What kind of questions should they ask them, perhaps, to be able to pick the right mediator for them? Are there any?
Well, so you mentioned collaborative law, and I did want to bring that up. In a collaborative law mediation, those usually occur over a couple of sessions. They try to do those in smaller sessions. They understand that people get overwhelmed. Collaborative law is when each party hires an attorney and they say, we're not going to court. If we can't resolve it collaboratively with each one having an attorney, each one advising their own client about the law, if we can't resolve it collaboratively together outside of court with these attorneys, we each have to fire our attorney and go to court on our own or hire other attorneys. So they sign a collaborative law agreement. In that case, if you use a mediator in that case, you'll usually have a couple of sessions. You might mediate the child custody issues one day, you might mediate the property settlement another day, and alimony another day. So that goes to it. If you hire an attorney, your attorney will have some good mediators in mind. You want a mediator who can listen, and listening is harder than you think, right? You want a mediator who can listen very well to not just to what you're saying, but to what your concerns are underneath. You need a mediator who can take the temperature down when things get a little heated. You need a mediator with some experience like that. I think it's great to ask a mediator, like, did you practice family law? That would be a good thing. Mediators don't have to be attorneys. Mediators are therapists, right? And that might be something you want. But you may want to ask those types of questions like, did you practice family law? Do you practice family law? And things like that.
Yeah, those are good questions. Those are good things to. So you can go to a mediator that's not an attorney. That just puts another layer too. It's like all attorneys may not be mediators, but some mediators may be attorneys, and there may be some mediators that are not attorneys at all. It's like A and B and B and C and A and C, and then you got D out there too.
Yes.
So yeah, it can get complicated. I understand when people are. It's really funny since I've started working in this divorce niche for about 4 years now, and I just continue to grow in the people that I meet, and be able to talk to. And I don't even know how I got my divorce so many years ago without knowing all of this. So I hope these videos will help, because y'all are bringing really, really good information to people that, they need to know. They need to know all this stuff. So, well, now I am going to put all your contact information at the end of this video, but tell our listeners how they can get in contact with you.
The best way is via email, renee@ccms12.onmicrosoft.com, and they'll get straight to me.
Okay, perfect. Well, I cannot thank you enough for sharing all this information and taking your time today to do this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I know that this the people who listen to this are going to get a lot out of it. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Have a good day.
You too. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The information contained herein is not legal advice. If you need legal advice, please seek an attorney.